All right, it's January 18th, 2025, and Alejandro Mayorkas just threw Biden and his entire inner circle under the bus, blaming them for the 10 plus million illegal migrants that entered the country over the last 4 years. Wait till you hear this. Taking no accountability at all as Secretary of DHS. Also, Donald Trump following through on his promise for mass deportations. If you thought this was just campaign rhetoric or lip service, you are so wrong. Trump's team is deadly serious about this. Plans leaking to the Wall Street Journal yesterday of mass raids scheduled for January 21st, targeting sanctuary cities specifically. We have the details. Also, Ohio's governor, Mike DeWine, Republican, just screwed up big time. Vivek Ramaswamy may just have found his next job, and more stories as well from around the country. But before we get started, thank you for liking and sharing these videos. Really helps out the channel, and consider subscribing so you don't miss these regular updates. So DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, worst DHS secretary this country's ever seen, bar none, just went on CNBC for a farewell type interview. An interview that clearly went off the rails after the network pointed out that under your watch, Secretary, more than 10 plus million illegals entered the country. That what you did, what you allowed to happen, has changed the conversation completely, changed the national dialogue completely, that Americans today are significantly more in favor of mass deportations than they were even 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Don't you think you are the reason for this? I gotta say, Andrew Ross Sorkin did a halfway decent job, but it's 4 years too late. Watch as Mayorkas appears to throw Biden and his whole inner circle under the bus, admitting he's not the decision maker. Decisions were made in the Oval Office, and I, as secretary, just have to carry them out. What? Uneffing believable. Roll the tape.
Secretary, do you not, put the politics of the election aside if you want. Do you not look at the immigration issue in this country and what has transpired over the last 4 years, given the number of people coming into this country illegally, given the firestorm that this has created, the national dialogue about it, given some of the efforts, frankly, by the administration, especially early on, to be more lenient than they had been? Do you think none of those things, if you could go back, you would do differently?
Look, Andrew, yes, and you have to understand something. And this is not specific to government, but to any large organization, including a government administration. People have different views on what the correct policies should be, what the correct operational measures should be. Those disagreements, those different views are voiced, decisions are made, and then everyone marches in unity together. That is the nature of a large organization, and the government is no different.
But just so I'm clear, are you suggesting your own personal views about how to operate this were at odds, or there was a distinction between your personal approach and how you would have wanted to do it and how maybe your bosses wanted to do it?
I don't want to get into the deliberative process. We're one team, and it's one effort, but this is not a revolutionary concept that there are disparate views when one has many people involved in the decision-making process.
What a complete weasel. Your job was to stop illegal immigration. You allowed it. You lied under oath to Congress. You should be held accountable. This is the same DHS secretary, mind you, who tried to establish a ministry of truth. Remember that? Were you just following orders there too? This guy was a menace, leaving Donald Trump with a big, fat, giant mess to clean up. And it looks like that's exactly what Trump's doing, following through on his promise to conduct mass deportations. We've been saying that Trump 2.0 will not be anything like any previous Republican administration, even his first administration. They are deadly serious about this. The American people asked for it, they voted for it, and they are going to deliver and reverse the once thought permanent damage that Biden caused with all of these undocumented migrants entering the country. 10 plus million people
Breaking news on the growing mass deportation concerns here in our area as President-elect Donald Trump prepares to take office in a matter of days. A new report out from the Wall Street Journal citing multiple sources saying the incoming administration is planning a, quote, large-scale immigration raid in Chicago next week. ABC News has not yet independently confirmed that reporting.
But it comes amid rising concerns over the mass deportation plan that Trump's border czar has promised to carry out. Tom Homan appearing on Fox News tonight saying there will be, quote, a big raid all across the country.
Plans leaking to the press yesterday show mass raids scheduled on the first full day of Trump's second term. The first place they're going, Chicago, Illinois, where thousands of arrests are expected to take place Tuesday morning. This comes after Chicago has seen more than 50,000 migrants enter the city since 2022. This is the same city whose mayor promised Trump and Tom Homan last month that he will not be allowing for any cooperation, no assistance from Chicago police, that he will resist, he said, that the people of Chicago will resist any attempt by ICE to deport their city's undocumented population. Really? Really? What are you going to do? Yet the people of Chicago, the citizens, the Americans who actually live in Chicago, they don't seem to agree with you. Watch what happened at a city hall meeting 2 days ago. The people of that city, the people of Chicago, the Americans want these mass deportations. They want their elected leaders to put Americans first. Roll the tape.
Good afternoon.
I want to know, how does it feel that Trump is in office right now? You see that? You see that, Mayor Brandon Johnson? You underestimate us. You underestimate the black people, and you underestimate Chicago Red. We're the thorn in your side, and we're going to be the thorn on everybody else in this council member side too. If you don't stop what you're doing, we're going to take matters in our own hand, and we're going to stop it. You know that Trump had pulled 45% of the voter in the state of Illinois, 37 in the city of Chicago? That's the statistic. That means that Illinois is turning purple. We're going to turn red.
Y'all can bird dog me all y'all want, but if it's relationship over duty, then y'all don't serve the blue. And you can smirk all you want.
Mr. Sims, direct your attention towards me, please.
You're a criminal. Why do I got to address you? The feds need to address you. DOJ need to address you, and hopefully Donald Trump will address you. Because you're going to protect the undocumented. Why you going to allow for the citizens in Chicago to suffer under your, what, 33%?
Tom Homan, make an example at this Negro right here first. Please come here first. Because you know what? We're going to help you. We want a forensic
Ma'am, I would ask that you
keep
your, hold on a second. Stop her time. Stop her time.
You told Trump you ain't going to blink? Well, we ain't either. You ain't above the law. And where you going to run to when Trump pulls that Trump card out on you?
There's a 10-year prison sentence when you want to stand up here for those illegals.
And at that city hall meeting, the city council, which is made up of these uber left-wing activists, sided with Mayor Johnson to continue Chicago's sanctuary city status. Don't they realize that their voters don't want that? They're elected to carry out the will of the people, especially at a local level. Tom Homan confirming to the Wall Street Journal that yes, these raids are scheduled for Tuesday. They won't only happen in Chicago, but massive raids are scheduled in sanctuary cities across the country. We're starting with the criminals and we're throwing them out. Booyah. In another story, Vivek Ramaswamy was passed over for J.D. Vance's Ohio Senate seat. Governor DeWine, a Republican, chose his lieutenant governor, his loyal lieutenant governor, John Husted, to fill the seat. This was a big mistake by Governor DeWine. Trump personally asked DeWine to consider Vivek for the seat, making it clear he wanted Vivek in that seat. And he not only didn't choose Vivek, but released a statement after, saying, "I don't like to be pressured on executive decisions," basically spitting in Trump's face. This opens up Vivek for the Ohio governor run in 2 years, which he should absolutely do. It also lets him continue to work on DOJ for the foreseeable future. In another story, Trump's new DHS nominee, Kristi Noem, sat for her Senate hearing yesterday, being grilled for multiple hours by these screeching Dems, which she manhandled, did a great job. This is a very important cabinet seat. Personally, I'd like to see Trump and DOJ completely abolish the DHS. It's a newer agency. It was only established in 2002. Now it has over 260,000 employees. Talk about government expansion. Many of them come from other departments which fall under DHS, but the reason this cabinet seat's so important is because this is where all of the dangerous backhanded tricks and these un-American programs reside, folks. It's such a huge department that there's so many things happening there that no one knows about. This is the department where they established the Ministry of Truth a few years ago. This is the agency that was policing misinformation on Twitter and these other social media sites. This is the agency that rolled out that CBP One app, the mobile app that the Biden administration uses for undocumented migrants to fly into the country. So many crazy programs and policies that are lost in the vastness of DHS. Well, Kristi Noem, she's one badass woman. She's not having any of it. Listen to her pledge to abolish all disinformation boards and expose what the Biden administration did over the last 4 years to curtail Americans' freedom of speech. Roll the tape.
Your predecessor, the current Secretary of DHS, established a disinformation board using taxpayer resources to police speech on the internet and elsewhere, to tag American citizens' viewpoints as either legitimate or not legitimate, and use the power of the state to censor them, including having them removed and perhaps penalized. This has got to be the darkest chapter, I think, in DHS's short history. He eventually withdrew the board under intense criticism, but has never fully repudiated it and never promised not to do it again. Will you pledge to us here today that under your leadership, there will never be a disinformation board or anything like it at DHS, and you will be a champion for the free speech and First Amendment rights of all Americans?
Senator, there will not be a board such as that under my leadership at the Department of Homeland Security.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
In another story, CNN was just found liable for lying and smearing a United States Navy veteran. The smear, an outright lie, took place on Jake Tapper's show, where the network claimed Zachary Young was an illegal profiteer who had charged Afghan evacuees thousands of dollars to leave the country during Biden's botched Afghan withdrawal. The jury ruled that CNN owes Zachary Young $4 million in financial damages, $1 million in emotional damages. Not good for CNN, and the pain's not over yet. The court is now moving on to punitive damages, which they're going to take up next week. Here was the moment the jury read their verdict. Watch this.
Is that correct?
Correct. Pardon me?
I said, I understand you all have reached a verdict.
We have.
All right. You have the verdict form with you?
I do.
Can you hand that to the bailiff, please?
I will.
Zachary Young, plaintiff versus Cable News Network, Inc., defendant. Verdict form number 1. Do you find by the greater weight of the evidence that defendant CNN committed defamation per se against plaintiff Zachary Young? Yes. Number 2, do you find by the greater weight of the evidence that defendant CNN committed defamation by implication against plaintiff Zachary Young? Yes.
All right, that wraps up this episode. Like, subscribe. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, Senator Grassley. Senator Hawley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Mayorkas, can I just start with you? You testified a moment ago to Senator Butler that every child gets a Know Your Rights presentation. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Is that before or after you release them to labor traffickers?
Senator, every child that comes into our care gets a Know Your Rights presentation, as well as...
Have you read these New York Times reports, these stories, the series of stories the New York Times has done on the children who are in your care? Have you read them?
Yes, I have.
Have you read that children are scrubbing dishes, they are operating heavy machinery, they are delivering meals, they are harvesting coffee, they are working construction, they are working as housekeepers, they are working overnight shifts at plants where they are not paid, they are not going to school, they are not cared for, they are not giving meals, almost all of it illegally. Are you aware of that? That's a yes or no.
Yes.
Do the Know Your Rights presentation help them in those situations?
Senator, ORR...
That's a yes or no, I think. Do you really think that you're helping these children by releasing them to labor traffickers and, yes, sex traffickers? 85,000 children whom you have no contact with? And your answer is, we gave them a presentation before we turned them over to these people who are exploiting them on a scale not seen in this country for 100 years, a century. A century. It's a disgrace in the United States of America. Let me ask you this. You did an audit, I noticed, where you gave yourself a clean bill of health. So just tell me this. Do you require sponsors to document their relationship with the child?
Senator, we have a thorough vetting process.
Do you require sponsors to document their relationship with the child?
Yes, we go through.
No, you do not. You do not. Have you read the Senate's Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations reports on your office? There was one in 2016. There was one in 2018. There was one in 2020. There was one in 2022. Spanning administrations, what they found is you do not require sponsors to document their relationship with the child. You release them anyway. What about background checks? Do you require background checks on all adults in the household?
In cases where the child is being released to their parents, we do not require background checks. But Senator, I would
Do you
really
require
like,
background checks on all adults in the household in any case?
Yes, in some cases we do.
What percentage of cases do you do background checks on the adults in the household?
I don't have that number in front of me.
Do you do home visits in all cases? You can actually see where these children are being released, whose care you're putting them in?
We do not do home visits in all cases. Senator, I'd really like the opportunity to talk about what we are doing.
I know what you're doing, and it's incredibly and totally inadequate. And we can read about it in the New York Times. Since you say you've read it, let's talk a little bit about that New York Times report, if we could. Here's a quote from the April 17th installment. Again and again, veteran government staffers and outside contractors told HHS, including reports that reached the Secretary, that children appeared to be at risk. Did you warn the Secretary that children were at risk?
Senator, I'm in regular contact with the Secretary.
Did you warn him that children were at risk?
Safety and well-being of children is our top priority.
Did you warn him that children were at risk?
I'm not going to get into the conversations I've had.
You're
with the
here and you're under
Secretary.
oath, and this is an oversight hearing, and we need to know what you're doing because you're manifestly not doing your job. Did you warn him that children were at risk? Do you believe that children are at risk? Let's start with that.
Yes.
Okay, did you warn the Secretary?
Senator, I'm not going to get into the specifics of my conversation, but I would like the opportunity
Why
to
wouldn't
talk
you
about-
warn the Secretary that children were at
I
risk?
would like the opportunity to talk about what we
Let's
are
look at what the
doing.
Secretary said to you. The other one, James. Yeah, that one. At least 5 HHS staff members said they were pushed out after raising concerns about child safety. Mr. Becerra, that's the Secretary, told the ORR director, that's you, right, that if she could not increase the number of discharges, he would find someone who could. And then he went on to say that if Henry Ford had run his plants like this, he would never have become famous and rich. This is not the way you do an assembly line. Get the kids out, run them through, get them out to those sponsors, those traffickers. Why didn't you resign when he said this? Do you think that this is morally acceptable?
Senator, I joined ORR in September of 2022. I believe that was reported prior to my arrival, but I cannot speak
This is from an article this year.
I can't speak to what the Secretary.
Do you think that this is acceptable to run ORR like an assembly line and to release these children
I
to
can assure
traffickers?
you we do not run ORR like an assembly line. The safety and well-being of children is our top concern. And by
Plainly
statute,
not. Plainly, it is not your top concern because you have managed to lose 85,000 of them. And the Times knows where they are, or 2/3 of them, and they're with labor traffickers. It's unbelievable. Let me just ask you this. How many kids right now, of the 430,000 approximately, unaccompanied children have crossed the border under this administration? It's an astounding number. How many are you in regular contact with right now?
Senator, we have a number of different providers across the country who
But what's the
provide
number? What's the number? How many of you are you in? You said child welfare is your top concern. What's the number?
I don't have the specific numbers.
How can you not know? Why would you come to this hearing and not know?
Respectfully, if you would like us to provide comprehensive case management to children after they're released from our care, so we can report.
Respectfully, I would like you to do your job and not release children to human traffickers. Respectfully, that's what I would like. I'd like you not facilitate the largest child trafficking ring in American history. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Ossoff.
Thank you, Mr.
1 mile from the U.S. border, thousands of people escaping poverty and violence in Central America find themselves trapped in the city of Mexicali.
Tonight, chaos erupting on the border, a humanitarian crisis as questions increase looking for solutions to calm the situation.
The U.S. government's hardline stance on immigration has left them stateless and homeless. They are now being targeted by a vile criminal trade, the buying and selling of human organs.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Bien, bien, aquí estamos a la orden.
I've come to meet Gonzalo, who has provided refuge to over 7,000 migrants in Mexicali in the last few years.
So tell me a bit about this neighborhood. What sorts of issues have you been seeing?
Hay mucha delincuencia organizada, porque nos llega gente que fue secuestrada, violando sus derechos humanos y les han quitado un órgano por haber llegado con la ilusión del sueño americano.
How many people have you personally seen or experienced that have had their kidneys extracted?
Pues han sido unas 20 personas.
What happened to them?
Se fue un grupo, estamos hablando como de 15 personas, a cruzar. Otras personas en los cuales les invitaron soda. El paso a seguir fue que pues se durmieron. Cuando despertaron, uno de ellos me platicó que se ladea y le duele la espalda. Y ahí fue donde se sale y tenía poquito sangre, pero a la vez sintió una cortada. Entonces se sorprendió. Él le habla a su hermano y a su primo y llorando así, sin riñón, sin un riñón.
These people were just sedated and tricked and had their organs extracted.
Es el modus vivendus. No es una persona ni dos, son grupos que es una mafia fronteriza.
I knew the buying and selling of organs was happening here, but hadn't expected to find that people were also being drugged and butchered. Mexico's vile and exploitative criminal trade in human organs is fueled by a health crisis across the border in the U.S. In 2020, nearly 90,000 Americans were waiting for a kidney transplant, yet only 1 in 5 received a donor. On average, 20 U.S. citizens die every day waiting for an organ transplant. This leads some Americans to turn to the black market, but they have little idea about the human misery that lies behind the trade. After weeks of working connections in the criminal underworld, we've made contact with an organ trafficking gang who claim to work across international borders, bringing U.S. patients into Mexicali. They prey on migrants, offering them $5,000 in exchange for a kidney.
I always feel nervous about meeting someone who operates within the black market. That's always something that I get the jitters before going in. All right, let's go. It's a pit bull dog.
Hacen con confianza, con confianza.
There's for you guys some masks. How big is your team?
Between 10, 15, up to 20 people. Right here, Mexicali, U.S., Mexicali, and right there, the people.
And they include doctors? This is part of your team?
Well, this one doctor right here is the one who take the blood out and take him to the laboratory, so they give you the results that he's a compatible person.
Why do you go after the poor people to get their
It's
kidney?
not the poor people, because there's a plenty of people from the South that came looking for the American dream and the stuff in here. They don't have jobs, they don't have nothing right here. So talk to them and offer a easy solution. Because a lot of people know that you can live with only with kidney. He's gonna get out something on his body, but he will get well. I'm not a demon, I'm just doing my job and helping people. Get some money for do that.
The organ trafficker tells me that he pays off corrupt medical staff to get lists of kidney patients in U.S. hospitals. If they're interested in his service, they have to send him a blood sample.
So your U.S. clients, going back to the U.S., because that's what I'm really curious about. So you have Arizona, California,
Florida,
Nevada,
and closer the Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
Once the doctor and his gang has tested the sample, he scours the streets of Mexicali for homeless migrants whose blood is compatible with the American client. He lets us follow him as he preys on the most vulnerable.
As soon as I started asking him how life's treating you here in Mexicali, they started throwing up, showing me the problem that he had. So that's when we started to listen. I tell him that I got his money. ¿Usted tiene, está sano, su persona es sano?
Sí.
¿Sí? ¿Todo bien?
Yo me siento bien.
¿Sabe que puede vivir sin un riñón usted, verdad?
No, yo no vendo mis cosas.
No vende sus órganos, perfecto. Está bien.
Police everywhere, huh? But is he someone you'd go after? He's kind of old.
I could go with him and tell him, because he will go to tell the other people.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. He's going to
Now
people.
you see how everyone's can get my information.
I see.
It's like a chain.
A few minutes later, another homeless migrant appears.
Mira, tengo una, probablemente pueda ser tu solución a los problemas de dinero. Porque, ¿sabes que puedes tú vivir sin un riñón? Tengo uno más. Puedes dar 5,000.
¿Con un riñón?
Sí. ¿Cómo ves?
Estaba de pensarse, pero sí, se pudo.
Sí, sería bueno que lo pensaron, porque todo es consentimiento tuyo y lo firmas y ya hacemos todo el papeleo bien. Y el dinero está aquí en efectivo. Pero solo tenemos que hacer unos exámenes para ver tu compatibilidad para la persona que ocupamos en el trasplante. Yo seguro que ustedes no. Y tomate C19.
Sí, porque la familia también decía aquí, pues ahorita está muy dura la cosa y...
Eso sería bueno. ¿Cómo tú me hablas en qué tanto tiempo?
To my left, there's rows of homeless people just laying on the street. And this guy came from that same alleyway.
People can live with one kidney, but it's a highly complicated surgery. Only the most desperate would place their life in the hands of a black market surgeon.
Organ trafficking, organ harvesting is a hideous crime. For the facilitators, this is just business. They see these people as money, you know. And because they're vulnerable, because there's nobody to defend them there, many of these people are also tricked into it. They will, even tell them, you're young, you know, your kidney will grow back, which obviously is a medical impossibility. I mean, there are so many risks involved with these illegal surgeries that are performed in places that sometimes aren't even hospitals, in places, you know, where there's no hygiene. A lot of these people may become sick. It can also be deadly. A kidney can be sold with $100,000, and then the money that the migrant, the poor people get are a tiny fraction of that. So most of the money is left with the facilitator and the surgeon. It takes a network to develop this type of organ trade. And it's almost always across borders. Because in order for a facilitator of this organ harvesting business to be successful, to make money, they need to operate between rich countries and poorer countries, or conflict areas and economies that are stable, because this is where the money is.
The trafficking gangs work with a network of corrupt doctors across Mexico. Surgeons here earn just $22,000 per year, 14 times less than doctors in the US. So some are easily lured into the trade.
So my fixer just revealed some information to me about a doctor who's been operating in the black market business for 6 years, and we are about to go meet with him. ¿Cómo estás?
Bien, bien, ¿ustedes?
So can you tell me a little bit about how you got into the clandestine part of your job?
En la medicina atendemos gente de bien, gente de la mafia, narcotraficantes.
I've interviewed people who've recruited migrants off the street to sell their organs. What do you think about that?
Nunca una gente que tenga dinero va a vender su órgano. Siempre tiene que ser una gente pobre.
Who are you operating on? Are your clients American, or what are their background?
No, son de todo el país, pero también hay extranjeros de la frontera vecina, porque obviamente el costo varía mucho de allá hacia acá, por eso.
Are the cartels involved?
Bueno, yo creo que no, pues todos los cárteles están involucrados. Pues a mí me llevaron, ahí sí, de manera forzada. Tenían a una persona, una levantada, una persona que tenían ahí secuestrada, porque debía $60,000 y querían que se les pagara con un riñón. Entonces, pues obviamente pagó con un riñón, ¿sí? Pero ahí sí, no había opción, lo teníamos que hacer. Igual puedes cobrar muy bien por esto, pero igual te obligan a hacerlo sin ningún centavo. Es un doble filo.
He claims the cartels sometimes force him to work for free, but the organ trafficking gang he mainly works for pays him highly lucrative fees.
How much money do you make?
Sí, son riñones, que es lo más frecuente. Pues menos, ¿no? Son $30,000-$40,000. Si es hígado, son $60,000-$70,000. Corazón, pues ahí ya se van a $100,000-$150,000, dependiendo, ¿no? O sea, depende de la dificultad y el riesgo del órgano.
The surgeon refuses to tell us where he gets hearts and livers from, but the implication is horrifying. One of Mexico's notorious cartels has been linked to the trade. In 2014, the Knights Templar were investigated on suspicion of kidnapping and murdering children to harvest their organs for sale. There have also been 2 horror stories about dead tourist bodies being stripped for body parts in Mexican hospitals. But the scale of organ trafficking in Mexico is largely hidden, as most of the victims can't turn to the authorities for help.
Migrants, because of their illegal status, in most cases, especially on the Mexico-US border, they have no rights. They need the money to cross the border, they need the money to survive. And they have nothing except their own bodies. There are so many people who are missing in Mexico and nobody knows nothing about their fate. From time to time, they find these fields where lots of bodies are buried, and many of these people are migrants. Many of these, bodies are burnt already or chopped to pieces. They can't really go to the police because many of the police in these areas are corrupt, and they're working hand in hand with the with the traffickers. The migrants being the victims are not a priority at all for the Mexican law enforcement. There are so many other things that they're focused on, like the war on drugs. You know, the US is trying to stop this migration from Central America via Mexico into the United States. The migrants and their lives and their health is nowhere on the list of priorities, neither in Mexico nor in the United States. So this makes them the perfect victims. They're victims that will not leave a trace.
We've discovered migrants are not the only victims. We've made contact with one trafficker who recruits directly from Mexico's prison system.
Soy intermediario entre el donador y la persona que necesita el órgano, riñón.
How do you get someone to sell their kidney from prison?
Tienen necesidad de salir y ellos tienen un recurso económico para poder salir de ahí. Entonces, te venden tu riñón, a ellos no les importa, ellos quieren salir de ahí. Así de fácil.
The trafficker claims his money can help prisoners get back on their feet once they leave. He is desperate to close his next deal.
Are you nervous? Your feet are... No?
I don't need emotions.
You have no emotions?
No, I don't like emotions. Órale, ¿y cuándo te falta para salir de ahí? La neta, jefe, no sé, yo ya estoy en la neta, yo también ya estoy a punto de salir. ¿Ah, sí? Ya tengo 5 años, por lo que vengo yo no... De cualquier manera necesitas dinero, pues. Sí, pues, es obvio. Órale. Oye, y es que pasa esto, que ocupo que te tengo un receptor, una persona que ocupa un riñón. ¿Y qué onda? ¿Sí jalas? Pues, ¿qué te parece $5,000? ¿Cuánto? 5,000. 5,000 si estás apto, pues, para que lo dones. ¿Cómo ves? ¿Sí? Sí. Bueno, entonces voy de visito, pues. Eso es un trato. Ok, está bien, gracias, pues, Ándale, pues, hasta luego, hermano. Que estés bien. Cuídate. Ya vi todo fácil que es. Eso fue en 40 minutos. Yo, si me das 20 días, te junto 10 ahí. 10 personas.
You don't feel sad for him?
No le va a pasar nada. No le pasa nada.
What's known as transplant tourism isn't just confined to Mexico. A recent report found that organ trafficking generates an estimated $1.7 billion a year globally. There's one country where this trade happens on an industrial scale. In China, it isn't run by traffickers, but by the state.
Disturbing news just out from London. A tribunal found that some of the victims of the forced organ harvesting are detainees from the Falun Gong movement. Former Falun Gong and Uyghur Muslim inmates report they were subjected to ongoing medical checkups and blood testing.
In 2019, an international tribunal accused China of executing tens of thousands of political prisoners and selling their organs on the black market between 2000 and 2005. The organs fed a demand from wealthy foreigners from across the globe.
South Korean police say they're investigating an organized crime group that sends patients to China for organ transplants. The Chinese regime banned organ transplant tourism in 2007, but the practice continues, with people willing to pay tens of thousands of dollars to skip the long waiting list for organs in their own countries.
China claims it stopped harvesting prisoners' organs in 2015. But in 2019, the tribunal found that the constant supply of organs available in Chinese hospitals could only be coming from executions.
Makes you think of some grotesque restaurant where you go in and you pick your lobster in a tank. But these are human beings we're talking about.
Chinese surgeon Dr. Enver Tohti was a key whistleblower for the tribunal.
This photo is probably the only photo I can find as a surgeon. This is me.
Once a highly skilled surgeon, he now lives in political exile in London, earning a scant living as an Uber driver.
One day, my chief surgeon asked me, said, "Do you want to do something wild?" He said, "We are going to the execution ground." Oh, I was panicking. Why I'm going to the execution ground? Not only me, the nurse and my assistant, everybody was panicking. What are we going to do? Our job is to save people. Why we are going to go to the execution ground? You can see there are more than 10 people got shot already. And they were wearing prisoner's uniform. And the head was shaved, like mine. And then the bullet comes through here and out from here. So this part is blown away. And they briefed me. Do as quick as possible, remove the liver and 2 kidneys. Then I thought he's alive. My chief surgeon was standing to my left. Said, "Okay, cut here, through that way, go quickly." Because that kind of operation, that thing in China is illegal. It is encouraged by the state. We got brainwashed from this kindergarten. So if anybody got shot because he's executed, that means he's enemy of the state.
This is large-scale illegal organ harvesting. And the targets are Uyghurs, Tibetans, Falun Gong members. These are innocent people who are killed by the communist regime. It seems that Falun Gong members, especially, were targeted, had their organs harvested because they live these clean lifestyles with no smoking, no alcohol. We know that in 2006 alone, 11,000 tourists went to China to get an organ. The fact that in China, one can receive a kidney in a matter of hours points out to the fact that China is meeting this demand very probably by killing people. We're very likely witnessing a modern-day genocide, and the international community is not even able to grasp the extent of this possible genocide because there's a scarcity of information, because international bodies are afraid of China. So if China is not going to be accountable for their deeds, China will become even more powerful and more daring in just challenging the international law. China is like a bull that marches on the world, and destroys a lot.
Póngase listo, Aquí está la migra ahí adelante.
Papá, tengo miedo.
Shh, todo va a salir bien.
No te preocupes, hijo, ya casi llegamos.
Mi gente los va a procesar uno por uno, No se tienen que apurar antes de que llegue la migra. Dale, güey. Vámonos. ¡Apúrate! Con las cabezas agachadas, Ándale.
No quiero estar aquí.
No te preocupes. Pronto estaremos en la casa de tu tía.
Pues deberíamos de escapar. ¿Por qué dices eso, mi amor? Me cae mal el chofer. Podríamos correr a la oscuridad. Ahí no nos van a encontrar.
escaparnos. Nosotros no somos así. Le dijimos que no iban a quedar aquí hasta que crucemos la frontera.
Vale, tú sigues, mujer.
Nadie nos va a hacer daño aquí. Vamos a estar bien.
Dale, apúrate.
Héctor, necesito que seas un hombre. Un hombrecito. Un hombre debe ser valiente. Siempre cumple con su palabra. Nunca deja su responsabilidad.
¿No estamos corriendo ya?
Hey, órale.
Ahí voy a estar.
Siéntate en la silla. ¿Cuál es tu nombre? ¿Y qué fecha es hoy?
Mi nombre es Mario Becerra. Hoy es el 23 de octubre.
¿Tienes una enfermedad seria?
No, nada.
¡Ponlo ahí! ¿Cuántos más?
¿Cuál es tu nombre completo,
¿Dónde está mi mamá y papá?
Vete. Corre, Desaparécete, mocoso. ¿No me oíste? Te estoy dejando de que te vayas, Ándale, vete de aquí. ¡Corre! ¡Corre!
No voy a correr. Eso no fue el trato. Soy hombre. Y un hombre mantiene su palabra.
What if the recent fires in Los Angeles weren't just the result of severe weather? What if they were started intentionally? These fires destroyed over 100,000 acres, claimed dozens of lives, and left families shattered. But as the smoke cleared, unsettling questions arose. Was this truly a natural disaster or something more sinister? In this episode, we explore conspiracy theories that are captivating millions. From strange on-site footage to infrastructure failures and whispers of hidden agendas, could these fires be part of a larger plan? Stay tuned as we uncover the eerie coincidences and unanswered questions fueling this heated debate. In January of the year 2025, Los Angeles was struck by a series of wildfires, including the Palisades and Eaton fires, which left behind a devastating toll on both human lives and infrastructure. The Palisades Fire, which originated in the upscale Pacific Palisades neighborhood, forced the evacuation of roughly 30,000 residents and threatened more than 13,000 structures. While authorities continue their investigation into the origins of these fires, questions and controversies have begun to surface. Like many wildfires in Los Angeles County, the blaze ignited in a remote, bone-dry area where extreme heat, unrelenting winds, and parched vegetation created the perfect recipe for disaster. According to investigators, the fire swiftly evolved into an unstoppable force, consuming hillsides and even leaping over highways. Entire neighborhoods were reduced to ash within moments as the inferno surged with a speed and intensity that were hard to comprehend. California's response has been massive. The state government deployed nearly 2,000 firefighting units, including more than 1,400 fire engines, over 80 aircraft, 175 bulldozers, and nearly 170 water tankers to combat the flames. However, despite these efforts, the fire claimed the lives of at least 27 people, with 26 others still missing. The victims include individuals from all walks of life. Among them were Randy Mayad, a passionate surfer from Malibu, and Evelyn McClendon, a politically engaged classical music enthusiast. Their stories are a stark reminder of how indiscriminate and unforgiving these disasters can be. As the fires subsided, however, questions began to emerge. Was the official explanation the entire story, or could darker forces have exacerbated this incident? Eyewitness testimonies and amateur videos have surfaced, hinting at strange occurrences. There have been reports of suspicious behavior near the fire's point of origin and unexplained delays in critical infrastructure support. Some have speculated about negligence, or worse, deliberate sabotage. Whispers of arson, lapses in water supply management, and unusual power grid failures have only added fuel to the fire of conspiracy theories. Could human actions, whether intentional or accidental, have played a role in worsening this disaster? Or are these anomalies merely coincidences, amplified by the chaos of the event? But what lasting scars did these fires leave on the city's economy and infrastructure? And could those failures have been avoided? Over 200,000 people were forced to flee their homes, with many still awaiting the all-clear to return. Among the most devastating were the Palisades and Eaton fires, which together destroyed more than 12,000 structures, leaving entire communities in ruins. The financial toll of these wildfires is staggering. Losses are estimated between $135 billion and $150 billion, ranking this disaster among the most economically destructive in the city's history. But the damage wasn't limited to property. The fires also exposed significant weaknesses in critical infrastructure. Firefighters reported arriving at hydrants that had run completely dry, hampering their efforts to contain the flames. This glaring issue has prompted California Governor Gavin Newsom to initiate an independent investigation into the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power. Meanwhile, the region's air quality has deteriorated to dangerous levels. The smoke from these fires is far more toxic than ordinary air pollution, carrying harmful gases and fine particulate matter. Health experts have issued warnings, especially for those with pre-existing respiratory conditions, as the long-term effects of exposure could be severe. The incident has also shaken the political landscape. Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass is under fire for her handling of the crisis, with critics accusing her of poor leadership during crucial moments. Some have even begun to rally for a potential recall. Governor Newsom has not escaped scrutiny either, as questions arise about the state's preparedness for such events, particularly as the city looks ahead to hosting the 2028 Olympics. Amid this turmoil, there have been uplifting displays of community resilience. Public figures like Selena Gomez and Benny Blanco have stepped in to support first responders, providing meals and other essential resources. In a broader effort to aid recovery, a benefit concert titled Fire Aid is scheduled for January 30th, featuring a star-studded lineup. Proceeds will fund immediate relief efforts as well as long-term projects aimed at preventing future disasters. With so much at stake, these fires have sparked debates about accountability, preparedness, and even conspiracy theories. Could the failures in water infrastructure have been more than just oversights? Were these devastating fires exacerbated by human negligence, or worse, deliberate actions? As Los Angeles begins to rebuild, questions like these will continue to smolder alongside the ashes of what was lost. But what if these wildfires weren't entirely natural? Could hidden motives or technologies have played a role in this unprecedented catastrophe? Before we continue, I have a special 10-second request for all of you listening. If you can help me in any way, just press the notification bell and hit that subscribe button. It means the world. It really supports this channel. And if you do that for me, I promise my team and I will do everything we can to make this show even better for you. Deal? A theory circulating online suggests the recent Los Angeles wildfires may not have been entirely natural. Some claim the destruction could have been caused by directed energy weapons, or DEWs, military-grade tools capable of emitting energy beams to ignite specific targets with uncanny precision. Observers point to eerie patterns of destruction. Entire homes turn to ash while surrounding trees remain untouched. Experts like those at CAL FIRE argue that such selective damage can result from the unpredictable behavior of fires driven by extreme winds and dry vegetation. Still, these explanations haven't silenced doubts. Could there be a deeper truth we're not being told? Another theory ties the tragedy to financial motives, hinting at greed and exploitation. Some believe developers or insurance companies may have played a role, seeking profit amid the chaos. In fire-prone areas like Los Angeles, insurance costs have skyrocketed, forcing many to forgo coverage. After a fire, residents unable to rebuild may be forced to sell their land, often at reduced prices, a potential boon for developers. Just a year ago, homeowners in these areas paid an average of $4,500 annually for insurance. Today, those premiums have skyrocketed to $18,000, a staggering fourfold increase. The suspicion is that by making the cost of living in these areas unaffordable, authorities or corporations might be paving the way for redevelopment or other undisclosed plans. Critics also point to the failures of infrastructure during the fires. Fire hydrants reportedly ran dry in some areas, and key water reservoirs were out of service, hindering firefighting efforts. Could these oversights simply be negligence, or something more deliberate? Some theorists go even further, suggesting large corporations or government agencies might have allowed or orchestrated the fires for hidden agendas. Could the destruction serve as a pretext for urban redevelopment, political maneuvers, or secret technological experiments? While officials maintain these fires were natural disasters, these suspicions have found fertile ground in a population increasingly skeptical of authority. The wildfires also exposed the fragile relationship between residents and leadership. Governor Gavin Newsom and Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass are facing criticism for their response with questions over preparedness and resource management. Meanwhile, community support has been a beacon of hope. Celebrities like Selena Gomez and Benny Blanco have rallied to aid first responders, and the benefit concert Fire Aid on January 30th promises to fund relief and prevention efforts. If entire homes were reduced to ash while nearby trees remained untouched, do you think this could be explained by natural fire behavior, or does it point to something more suspicious, like advanced technology or hidden agendas? Let us know in the comments below. A shocking video circulating on social media has left viewers deeply unsettled. It shows a man in a green shirt caught red-handed after lighting a fire that quickly grew to nearly 10 feet tall. When confronted, he claimed he was trying to keep warm. But given the severity of the ongoing disaster, his explanation was met with disbelief. The resident who recorded the incident called his actions reckless and warned of imprisonment. The man's only response was a small, unsettling smile, raising suspicions further. This raises a critical question. Was this simply an irresponsible act, or part of a more sinister pattern? While his true motives remain unclear, the video has added a layer of uncertainty to an already bad situation. But that's just one piece of the controversy. Amid the destruction, another glaring issue emerged: the inoperability of the Santa Wines Reservoir, a critical water source for firefighting efforts. Investigators revealed that the reservoir had been out of service since February 2024 due to a damaged shutoff valve. Repairs could have been completed months earlier, but bureaucratic delays and funding issues reportedly held up the process. This failure has led many to question whether the authorities knowingly allowed the situation to escalate. Speculation is growing that the delays were no accident. Some locals suspect the area is being cleared for redevelopment into a smart city by 2028, allegedly backed by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. For residents who lost their homes, the thought of a fully operational water source sitting idle during their greatest time of need is infuriating. Whether the reservoir's failure was an innocent oversight or part of a larger agenda, the consequences were bad. Adding to the unease, another viral video captured an inexplicable phenomenon: a lone tree standing on scorched earth suddenly bursting into flames. With no visible spark or nearby embers, the sight left onlookers baffled. Experts suggest that extreme heat and volatile conditions during wildfires can cause objects to ignite spontaneously. Yet for many, this explanation fell short. The image of the isolated burning tree has sparked widespread speculation online, further fueling theories about the fire's unusual behavior. In an era where truth feels elusive, how do we discern fact from fiction amidst the whirlwind of rumors and fake news? One rumor blazed through social media: dramatic images of the iconic Hollywood sign, glowing red against a darkened sky, circulated widely, igniting fears that even this globally recognized symbol of Los Angeles had fallen victim to the inferno. The visuals, though alarming, evoked a profound sense of loss for what many see as a cultural landmark. However, investigations revealed a starkly different reality. Reports of a fire engulfing the Hollywood Hills and threatening the sign turned out to be a fabrication, spread by individuals using advanced artificial intelligence tools to create convincing yet fake footage. In truth, the Hollywood sign remained untouched, safe from the chaos that gripped the surrounding areas. This hoax raises a larger and deeply unsettling question: how much of what we see during disasters has been manipulated to amplify fear or drive narratives? When even our own eyes can deceive us, separating fact from fiction becomes an increasingly challenging task. As if the fires themselves weren't mysterious enough, another viral video captured public attention and stoked further speculation. This time, the footage showed a fiery ball streaking across the sky above Colorado, igniting a frenzy of online debate. Was it a meteor, space debris, or something more enigmatic, like a classified military experiment or even extraterrestrial activity? While the fireball was undoubtedly real, there is no evidence to suggest it was connected to the fires in Los Angeles. Experts pointed to plausible explanations, such as a satellite or space debris burning upon re-entry into Earth's atmosphere. Still, the timing of the event fueled rampant speculation, with many questioning whether this celestial event was a coincidence or a clue in a broader conspiracy. These incidents have left many grappling with uncertainty, as fear and misinformation spread as rapidly as the flames themselves. Was this a case of unrelated events being woven into a larger narrative, or do these strange occurrences hint at something more deliberate? In times of crisis, where the line between fact and fiction blurs, finding the truth becomes more critical than ever. While some theories may seem far-fetched, others raise legitimate questions. What do scientists say, and how do we separate speculation from reality? Wildfires in California are nothing new, and experts have long recognized them as a bad but predictable outcome of natural conditions combined with human activity. In the case of the Los Angeles fires, a mix of dry weather, intense winds, and vegetation dried under relentless heat created the perfect recipe for the incident. However, nature alone cannot shoulder all the blame. Human actions, both accidental and deliberate, play a substantial role. For instance, improperly discarded cigarette butt sparks from power lines, and even mishandled controlled burns have all been identified as potential wildfire triggers in recent years. This raises a pressing question: can carelessness be as destructive as intentional arson? A single spark, under the right circumstances, can ignite an inferno that spirals out of control. Conspiracy theories suggest that something more deliberate might be at play. One of the most persistent theories surrounding the Los Angeles fires involves directed energy weapons, or DEWs. Advocates of this theory claim that these advanced weapons, designed to target specific locations, were used to ignite the fires. Photographs showing burned homes surrounded by untouched trees have further fueled these claims. However, experts in fire science provide a different perspective. Fire behavior is inherently unpredictable and often misunderstood. As a scientist explains, fires move in complex and chaotic ways. Elements like wind patterns, the availability of combustible material, and differences in how structures and vegetation burn all influence how a fire spreads. It's not unusual for a house to be consumed by flames while nearby trees remain largely intact. It's just how fire behaves under certain conditions. Despite these scientific explanations, the DEW theory continues to thrive. But why does this idea refuse to fade? Psychologists and sociologists suggest it's a combination of factors: a deep-seated distrust in institutions, fear of emerging technologies, and the human need for explanations that match the scale of devastation. When faced with destruction on such a massive level, people often look beyond everyday causes for answers, gravitating toward theories that feel as monumental as the incident itself. Why are we drawn to these ideas, especially after disasters? What do they say about how we process fear and uncertainty? In the aftermath of events like the Los Angeles fires, an intriguing phenomenon emerges. While many people focus on recovery efforts and finding actionable solutions, others turn their attention to conspiracy theories. But what drives this tendency? Why do some cling to sensational ideas, even when the evidence tells a different story? Psychologists suggest that this reaction is deeply rooted in human nature. When chaos strikes, leaving widespread devastation, our minds instinctively search for patterns and explanations to make sense of what feels incomprehensible. Disasters often leave behind unanswered questions, and these gaps can be profoundly unsettling. However, there's a darker twist to this quest for meaning. In seeking explanations, people can sometimes veer into dangerous territory, driven by speculation and mistrust. Instead of relying on scientific evidence or expert insights, many latch onto theories that confirm their fears, or worse, assign blame to convenient scapegoats. Another significant factor fueling the appeal of conspiracy theories is the illusion of control. The idea that a fire was caused by a secretive group or deliberate act can be frightening, but it also provides a strange sense of reassurance. If incidents aren't purely random, it suggests that someone or something is in control. However, this fixation on conspiracies has serious drawbacks. By focusing on unproven theories, we risk overlooking real issues. Negligent power companies, outdated infrastructure, and poorly managed fire prevention programs often play significant roles in these disasters. Ignoring these practical causes to chase sensational explanations only delays meaningful change and accountability. As we wrap up, one thing is clear: the Los Angeles fires have left behind not just physical devastation, but a cloud of questions that refuses to dissipate. While some theories may sound far-fetched, they force us to consider unsettling possibilities. Could there have been a hidden agenda behind this fire? Was it a natural tragedy, or could human actions, whether deliberate or negligent, have made it worse? If you enjoyed today's video, please give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Your support means a lot to us. Click on the video that appears on your screen right now. I'm sure you'll love this content. Comment below about the next country you'd like to see featured on our channel. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for being with us. Leave a comment, like to show your support, and remember to hit that subscribe button for more exciting videos. See you next time.
Hey, what's up guys, John here. Millions and millions of homeowners, property owners, and investors will soon lose their buildings and their life's work inside of the state of California due to a new set of laws that are now being worked on. In Los Angeles, for example, they're working to pass a new law which will give tenant attorneys a $5 million per month budget to go after landlords. $5 million a month. In addition to that, they're working on capping how much a single family home could legally be rented for, how much apartments could be legally rented for.
Limits on rent increases go into effect in California.
Cities in the southeast region of LA County are enacting rent control measures.
And then also pushing forward a lot of new green energy upgrades for these property owners that can no longer be passed on to a tenant. So the landlord has to absorb the cost on a property in which they can't basically make any money from.
Big changes are coming to solar power in California to update incentives for owners of apartment buildings, schools, and businesses that install solar panels.
Now, when you start to pay attention to how this entire situation is unfolding, they say California homelessness, it's an epidemic. It's a horrible, horrible thing. And I think a lot of people would agree homelessness in California, it's a nightmare for everybody, right? It's a really bad situation that needs to get solved.
Homeless crisis is magnified in the Golden State.
More than 1/4 of all people experiencing homelessness in the United States live in the state of California.
The state had the largest rate of increase in its homeless population in the country.
But their proposed solution is stripping property rights from property owners, not allowing them to evict a tenant that doesn't pay rent, and basically pushing people into these homes. Now, California's proposed a new plan called a master leasing plan, where property owners and landlords, they could avoid some of this headache by simply giving the property to the state of California, and then they maybe get a check at the end of the month.
County, in partnership with LOS, are going out and actually working with building owners and bringing on units where they are going in the direct relationship with the property owner. And then we are subletting to folks that have formerly experienced homelessness.
But is that actually going to happen? Or if they sign this master lease deal, could these property owners lose their properties? Because who are they going to sue? Are they going to sue the County of Los Angeles over a contract that they have signed with the County of Los Angeles? I mean, this situation is a disaster. I'm going to break it down for you. I'm going to show you the facts, show you the laws, show you how this whole thing's working. It's even on whitehouse.gov, some of these goals. So I'm going to break it down for you. Please hit the like button, YouTube will share the content, educate more people about what's going on in our crazy country. I mean, this country it's gone crazy the last couple of years. I think the next few years is just going to be unbelievable. Take a look at this. So Gavin Newsom did this publicity stunt, right? It's him, he's cleaning up trash. It looks like under an underpass. You hear the drive-by traffic. See this shade here, right? Then he pushes out this shopping cart. What this is basically to do is not to tell us that he's doing something, because we all know he's not. What it's there to do is to let us know that they're getting ready for radical change in the state of California, and that's what that video encompasses. Look at this.
Job. She's been a great partner. You're seeing that down 10.4%, over 10% decline in unsheltered homeless population last year.
Over 10% decline is what he's saying. Well, in 2022, according to LA Times, homelessness was 41,980. And in 2024, they said it was 46,260, right? So according to them, the mainstream media, it's actually increased about 5,000. But according to the city of Los Angeles, they're saying that it's at a 6-year low. So they could be right, they could be wrong. I guess we'll see. But look at this plan. This came out yesterday, August 8th. LA's plan to give renters free eviction attorneys as a right moves forward. And this plan, LA's housing department has estimated that a fully funded right to counsel could cost the city $68 million a year. It's over $5 million a month, over $5 million a month in just LA. Now, they said in 2023 that it's going to be $68 million. That's what they're going to need per year, right? And this is the path forward. This is what they're going to be moving into. Is this $68 million. Now, low-income tenants to receive free attorneys when facing eviction under LA County plan, right? This is July. So now it's moving full steam ahead. Even in Orange County, they're saying what we found in studies is that there's a disparity or a delta of about $300 to $500 that would keep people housed If we can use the money intelligently, it's 1/10 the cost of what we'd spend once somebody is on the street. Now, let's remember, on whitehouse.gov, where you can see the URL right here, whitehouse.gov, May 18th, 2023, they said that they want to reduce homelessness, set a bold goal to reduce homelessness 25% by next year, and ultimately build a country where every person has a safe and affordable home. And they said right here, through the All Inside Initiative, the U.S. Interagency Council on Homelessness and its 19 federal members agencies will partner with the state and local governments to strengthen and accelerate local efforts to get unsheltered people into homes in Chicago, Dallas, LA, Phoenix, Metro, Seattle, and the state of California. Now, how are they going to get people inside of homes and reduce homelessness? They're going to be bringing forward on a national level different landlord-tenant laws. You already heard the 5% rent caps and talking about a national rent control. Well, the state of California is the perfect state for this new movement to begin, so it could be pushed to other states. Now, here's how this is going to work. Look at this, April 16th, just a few months ago. April 16th in Santa Monica, they said Santa Monica's Office of Sustainability and the Environment will hold a webinar to further discuss Santa Monica's move towards mandating all electric appliances in all existing residential buildings. Timelines include full electrification with requirements starting as early as this year and many additional ones starting in 2025. We urge all AAGLA members with residential rental properties of any type, including multifamily, single-family, accessory dwelling units, and condominiums in Santa Monica to attend the webinar tomorrow and voice your strong opposition to this extremely costly required transition for property owners and renters to full electrification of existing residential buildings, right? Well, they came out with this. This was I've actually covered this last year. The day it came out, I was covering saying this is going to be coming. And then you have April, it's already happening. But this is what's going to be unfolding in California. It says they'll prohibit property owners subject to the rent stabilization ordinance from passing the cost of decarbonization retrofits onto their tenants. So the landlord has to absorb that cost. Eliminate provisions in the LA Municipal Code that allows landlords to evict tenants in order to renovate their properties. Strengthen enforcement and oversight of existing tenant protection measures. If LA City provides subsidies to landlords for building decarbonization, require enforceable agreements from those landlords to protect tenants from rent increases and evictions. Require that landlords prioritize retrofits that improve tenants' health and quality of life, such as appliance electrification and ventilation improvements. Ensure that the appropriate position or portion of energy savings from conservation or efforts such as rooftop or community solar is credited to tenants' accounts. Create an oversight body of current tenants and community leaders to ensure the policy benefits frontline communities and low-income renters. Promote housing models that better protect tenants, including publicly owned housing, deeply affordable deed-restricted housing, and community land trust. So you see the trend. And then look at this. This is what they're working on right now. It's called Proposition 33. Proposition 33 is heavily funded by the AIDS Health Care Foundation. They're putting $19.5 million into this. And it's you can see some of their donors, but it's mainly backed by the AIDS Health Foundation. And this looks like this is going to be, and it's also backed by Bernie Sanders and a lot of, heavily powerful people inside of politics. It says nearly 30% of California renters spend more than half of their income on rent. And so what they're proposing to do is this. Many cities, including San Francisco and LA, limit the amount a landlord can raise the rent each year, a policy known as rent control. But for nearly 30 years, California has imposed limits on those limits via a law known as Costa-Hawkins. Cities cannot set rent on single-family homes or apartments built after 1995, and landlords are free to set their own rental rates when new tenants move in. If Proposition 33 passes, that would change. Cities would be allowed to control rents on any type of housing, including single-family homes, new apartments, and for new tenants. It's a disaster. And this situation, this is by the AIDS Health Foundation. This is the person that is pushing forward to bring forward tenant rights. Look, if you're looking at things from a money capitalism type of powerful, trying to seize power, becoming as powerful as you possibly can, you'd look at it and say, look, the easiest way to do this, it wouldn't be to go out there in a free market and compete and go try to, win this game against a bunch of other investors. It would be to bring forward laws and bring forward rules to push investors out of business to acquire market share, and do it through, being inclusive and hitting all these buzzwords. That's exactly what's happening in California with this. You think that he's going to be sitting in a rent-controlled studio apartment, or you think he's going to be on a yacht as this entire thing starts working out? I mean, I would argue that at the end of this, he would be a lot richer, right? And a lot of people will be a lot richer, but not a lot of these mom and pop property owners. They're going to lose their shirts on this entire situation. Now, they talked about this new plan called social housing, right? Social housing, where essentially it looks something kind of like this, where, look at this. So this social housing program, it's LA's master leasing program to tackle homelessness. To curb chronic homelessness and support people who are often shut out of the rental market, Los Angeles is pursuing an established strategy with a new twist, master leasing. In February, the LA City Council unanimously approved a plan to pursue a master leasing program. With this approach, a master leaser, the government in LA's case, but often a local nonprofit, aka AIDS Health Foundation, rents a block of units or even an entire building from a private landlord and subleases them to tenants who might otherwise struggle to qualify for a rental unit due to a history of legal or financial issues. What are the odds? Homelessness or mental health problems or substance abuse. The goal is to get people off the streets quickly and for good. There's absolutely no barrier. A consultant that helped draft the policy and the former chief program officer for LA Family Housing, a mass provider of housing and homelessness services in LA. You literally can move someone from the street to a home same day. This is what's going to happen. This is what's unfolding. You look at how California has been run just the last couple of years. It's a disaster. I saw this video today. It's like these people, they break down this gate, right? They break down this gate, throw the gate right on the floor or right on the sidewalk, and they steal the motor for this electric gate here, right? And they throw it right inside of a Kia. They take the license plates off of it, and it's free for all. Maybe they'll sell that for $1,000, $2,000, whatever they sell it for. And consequence for committing that crime? Basically nothing. I mean, you look at LA crime, 8 sentence for series of smash and grabs. Sentence, it's probably going to be a slap on the wrist. Let's be real. Look at California. You look at what's happening in San Francisco. A lot of people that are committing crimes, the cost of getting caught, is very small compared to the reward of getting away, right? They took 1.7 million. It's a free-for-all in the state of California. And when they walk into a solution of saying, look, is housing a human right? Saying that we're going to be providing this solution. Look at what they're providing for the people of California. No one's felt less safe in that state ever, right? No one's felt their business has probably never been in as bad a shape as it is in right now due to all these solutions that were provided by the state of California. Now, I personally believe we're going to see millions of property owners that are no longer going to be able to hold on. You think about it. To electrify a property, it's not 10 grand, 20 grand. You're talking on a single family home. In 2018, a small little house was like 85, 90 grand before inflation, right? Before inflation. Now it might be twice that. Labor costs have gone up. Everything's went up. Look at insurance. Insurance companies are pulling out of California. Insurance is going up. So if you have insurance going up, you have the cost of materials, everything is going up. You have less property rights. You can't push the cost onto the tenant. Borrowing costs have went from 3% to 6%. Interest rates. Everything is going against landlords right now. I believe if you are someone that wants to invest in California real estate, you're definitely going to get your opportunity probably in the next year or so, as we see a lot of people get pushed completely out of the business and a lot of distress unfolds. I think we're going to learn a lot about what's going to happen in California, and you'll be able to use that information to underwrite your deals correctly given the risk that people are going to be soon facing to invest. What do you think about this entire situation, this scenario? Do you think we're walking into a disaster that is likely going to be spreading to other states, like New York, Chicago, Philadelphia, Boston? A lot of these cities, run kind of hand in hand. What policy happens here generally goes there, and it kind of bounces around. And it's usually a collection of 10 or 12 cities that then soon, change the way in which our country runs. I mean, look at it. That's basically how it works. We have San Francisco, Los Angeles, all the big cities. When they adopt all these policies, it just starts to spread out from those cities more locally, more locally, more locally. And before you know it, a large chunk of the entire country starts to adopt it. Let's have a conversation about this below. If you'd like to fix your credit to position yourself for funding, I believe there's going to be a lot of opportunity, not just in real estate, but I believe there's going to be a lot of opportunity across a lot of different sectors over the next year or so as people start really, really feeling the pinch as what's happening. We'd love to help you if you have credit issues, late payments, medical bills, charge-offs, foreclosures, bankruptcies, repossessions, any issue at all like that in your credit report, go to greatcreditfast.com. Click the link in the description just below this video. Schedule a free call for tomorrow. Check out our reviews on Trustpilot.
With all the terrible things that have been happening in California over the past few days, the backlash that Gavin Newsom is facing is only getting worse. And after the crazy twist of what happened today, things are only getting worse and worse for Gavin Newsom. And he is now at a point where he is panicking and begging for people like Biden to help save him. Look at the damage that has been done in California. It is apocalyptic. This is something that should never have happened. And this is all because of terrible leadership in California. And anybody who actually knows what is going on knows that is the case. And now it has gotten to a point with the devastation here where we are seeing celebrities, tons and tons of celebrities, and more of them are coming out to absolutely shred Gavin Newsom for this and call for him to resign. Some people are calling for his arrest. And we do have some crazy things to talk about in regards to all of that today. So we're going to go ahead and jump into this and see what is going on. This is something that Gavin Newsom said about the fires, as Gavin Newsom basically says that it is not his responsibility, that it's not his job. He doesn't need to figure it out.
What is the situation with the water? Obviously, in Palisades, ran out last night in the hydrants. I was talking to the firefighter in this block. They left because there was no water in the hydrant here.
The local folks are trying to figure that out. I mean, just when you have...
That is an absolutely insane response. And this shows you that he is a terrible leader because he refuses to take responsibility for anything that is going on.
A system that is not dissimilar to what we've seen in other extraordinarily large-scale fires, whether it be pipe, electricity, or whether it just be the complete overwhelm of the system. I mean, those hydrants are typical for 2 or 3 fires, maybe 1 fire. You have something at this scale, but again, that's going to be determined by the local.
This is sickening. This answer is completely sickening. Because of all of this insane backlash, Gavin Newsom is at a point where he is literally begging Biden to rescue him from the backlash. Newsom asks Biden to combat criticism of his disastrous fire response. He is begging Biden to combat criticism. And guess what? He still refuses to take any responsibility whatsoever. Trump has also repeatedly called on Newsom to resign this week as well. So this is what Gavin Newsom was saying to Biden. This is craziness.
I ask you, we've got to deal with this misinformation. There are hurricane force winds of mis and disinformation, lies. People want to divide this country. And we're gonna have to address that.
Misinformation, that is what you're worried about right now when your state is on fire. What he really means is he just does not like the fact that people are saying that he should take responsibility and accountability. He doesn't like any of that.
As well. And it breaks my heart as people are suffering and struggling that we're up against those hurricane forces as well. And that's just a point of personal privilege that I share that with you because it infects real people that are out there, people I meet every single day, people the mayor's been meeting with, and they're having conversations that are not the typical conversations you'd have at this time. And you wonder where this stuff comes from. And it's very damaging as well. But we're here to get the job done.
Secondly, we're in a situation where we have put together, and you guys did it for our administration, the President Obama's administration before this. We have put together, I think, the most extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics.